This is the fourth part of Chapter 1, Laws of Motion. If you haven't watched the first three parts, please click on the link in the description box below. Hey, this video was made just for you. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.
Try out and think about it. Draw a rectangular path as shown in the figure. Place the tip of your pencil on the middle of any side of the square path and trace the path. Note how many times you have to change the direction while tracing the complete path. So now if we start on the middle of a side and go, we change the direction 1, 2, 3 and 4 times to complete this square. So the number of times you have to change direction would be equal to the sides of the figure. If you increase the number of sides of the polygon and make it infinite, how many times will you have to change the direction? What will be the shape of the path? So they are telling now this is 4 times and then this would be 5 times, 6 times, etc. So if the number of times is infinite, so how many times you'll have to change the direction? That will be infinite times. And what will be the shape of the path? So if you think carefully, if you have to change the direction infinite times, you will get a circle. When an object is moving with a constant speed along a circular path, the change in velocity is only due to the change in direction. Hence, it is accelerated motion. So, since acceleration depends on change in velocity and velocity depends on the direction, so even though there is a constant speed, but since the direction is changing in a circular path, therefore velocity is also changing, and that is why it is an accelerated motion. When an object moves with a constant speed along a circular path, the motion is called uniform circular motion. Examples of such motion are the motion of a stone in a sling or that of any point on a bicycle wheel when they are in uniform motion. So if you tie a stone to a sling, that is like a thread, and you move it in a circular manner, then the motion of the stone at the tip of the string would be uniform circular motion. And also if you see the bicycle wheel, any one point on the wheel, as it keeps moving, it will perform uniform circular motion. If an object moving along a circular path of radius r takes time t to come back to its starting position, its speed can be determined using the formula given below. So originally what was the formula for speed? It was speed is equal to distance upon time, but here the distance travelled would be equal to the circumference of a circle because the object is moving in a circular path. Therefore you will calculate the distance using the circumference of the circle. And what is circumference of a circle? It is equal to 2 pi r, where r is the radius of a circle. The next topic is determining the direction of velocity in uniform circular motion. Let's try this. Take a circular disc. A disc is a round object like a plate, and put a 5 rupee coin at a point along its edge, that is at the end of the plate, put a 5 rupee coin. Make it move around its axis. Axis is a perpendicular line passing through the center by putting a pin through it. So they've put a pin at the axis. When the disc is moved at higher speed, the coin will be thrown off as shown in the figure. So the coin was placed at the edge, and when you kept moving it round and round, the coin was thrown off, like how we can see here. Note the direction in which it is thrown off. Repeat the action by placing the coin at different points along the edge of the circle and observe the direction in which the coin is thrown off. So you have to repeat this experiment again and again by placing the coin at different locations around the edge. And again you have to turn it and watch where the coin is thrown off. The coin will be thrown off in the direction of a tangent. Do you remember what a tangent is? A tangent is any line that passes through the edge of the circle. It only passes one point at the edge and it is a straight line. which is perpendicular to the radius of the circle. So this would be the radius, and tangent is always perpendicular to the radius. Thus, the direction in which it gets thrown off depends on its position at the moment of getting thrown off. It means that as the coin moves along a circular path, the direction of its motion is changing at every point. So over here that we seen, wherever you place the coin and you start spinning it, the moment it gets thrown off, it will make a tangent to the radius, and that the coin's motion keeps changing every point because the coin is rotating. So because of that, its motion keeps on changing. So now let's go through some solved examples. Example 1. An athlete is running on a circular track. He runs a distance of 400 meters in 25 seconds before returning to his original position. What is his average speed and velocity? So the circumference of this circular track would be 400 meters. Because after he traveled this 400 meters, he returned to his original position, and he did this in 25 seconds. So what would be the average speed and velocity? So as we had seen earlier, speed was equal to circumference upon time. So here the average speed will be the total distance covered upon the total time taken, which was 400 upon 25, which is equal to 16 meter per second. But the average velocity we are going to calculate using displacement, and since he returned to his original position, the displacement would be 0, and if in the numerator you have a 0, your answer would be 0. Let's see the second example. An airplane taxis on the runway for 30 seconds. Taxis is when the airplane is just moving on the runway without actually flying. An airplane taxis on the runway for 30 seconds with an acceleration of 3.2 meter per second. So here they have given us the acceleration, that is 3.2 meter per second square before taking off. How much distance would it have covered on the runway? So here they have given us acceleration and time, and they are asking us the displacement. So we have to see which Newton's law of motion was telling us the relation between displacement and time. And that was the second law of motion, that is S is equal to ut plus half at square. And this formula has acceleration in it. So we just have to substitute whatever is given to us, and we get the answer of 1440 meters. So this airplane traveled 1440 meters on the runway for 30 seconds with acceleration of 3.2 meter per second square. Let's see the third example. A kangaroo can jump 2.5 meter vertically. What must be the initial velocity of the kangaroo? So here they are asking us to find the initial velocity, that is u. So the kangaroo who was on the ground jumped vertically in the air. So at one point when you jump in the air, you come to a rest. So that point was 2.5 meters in the air. So they are asking us to find the initial velocity. The final velocity would be 0 because when you jump in the air at one point, you come to a rest. So the displacement would be 2.5 meters because that was the distance of the jump, and the acceleration would be 9.8 meter per second square. So how do we come to know the acceleration is 9.8 meter per second square? Because it is not given in the example. This is actually the acceleration provided by gravity. So when you jump in the air, there is a force that is stopping you from jumping too high. That is why the kangaroo came at rest after he jumped in the air. So that was because the acceleration of gravity was acting on it from up and pulling it towards the surface of the earth. Therefore, the acceleration was 9.8 meter per second square, and this is a standard value. We have to find the initial velocity u. So using Newton's third law, we know that v square is equal to u square plus 2as. So once you substitute this, you will get u as u square as 49, and when you take the square root you will get u as 7. So notice here that acceleration, the 9.8, was given as a negative sign, and they are saying that the negative sign is used as the acceleration is in the direction opposite to that of velocity. So the velocity of the kangaroo was upwards from the surface of the earth, but the gravitational pull was pulling the kangaroo towards the surface of the earth. And since the direction was opposite, therefore we have to use the negative sign. The fourth example now. A motorboat starts from rest and moves with uniform acceleration. So it's telling us that the motorboat is starting from rest. Therefore, the initial velocity would be 0. If it attains a velocity of 15 meter per second in 5 seconds, calculate the acceleration and distance traveled in that time. So here they are telling us it attains a velocity, that is the final velocity would be 15 meter per second. In time, that is t, would be 5 seconds. And we have to find two things. We have to find the acceleration of the motorboat and also what distance did it cover in those 5 seconds. So we have the initial velocity, we have the final velocity, and we have the time. So we can find out the acceleration by using the basic acceleration formula, that is change in velocity per unit time. And change in velocity was final velocity v minus initial velocity 2 u upon time t. So 15 minus 0 upon 5 would give us 3 meter per second square. Now to find the distance, we can use Newton's second law of motion, that is telling us the relation between displacement and time. That was S is equal to ut plus half at square. We know everything in this formula. That is, we know the initial velocity, we know the time, and now we also know the acceleration. So just by simple substitution, you would get the displacement as 37.5 meters. So now we learn Newton's laws of motion. What could be the reason for the following? A static object, that is an object at rest, does not move without the application of a force. Like for example, if you keep a pen on the table, it will not move unless you push it or pick it up. The force which is sufficient to lift a book from a table is not sufficient to lift the table. So if you try to lift your book with just one hand, you will be able to lift the book. But if you try to lift a table with the same force, that is, if you try to lift the table with one hand again with the same force, you will not be able to lift the table. Fruits on a tree fall down when its branches are shaken. So when the fruits are on the tree, they are stable. But when you shake the branch, that time only they will fall. An electric fan keeps on rotating for some time even after it is switched off. So this you all must have noticed, that a fan, after you switch off also, the blades of the fan keep on rotating for some time, and then slowly the speed decreases and finally it comes to a rest. If we look for reasons for the above, we realize that objects have some inertia. So what is inertia? Inertia is actually a property of matter by which it continues in its existing state of rest or uniform motion in a straight line unless that state is changed by an external force. So what does this exactly mean? That if an object is at rest, it will continue to stay at rest, or if an object is in motion, it will continue to be in motion for some time unless an external force is applied. So, if the book was kept on the table, it will remain on the table unless you put an external force, that is, unless you try to lift it or push it. Similarly, an object that is in motion, like the fan, even after you switch it off, because it is in motion, it will not suddenly stop. It will stop after some time. We have learned that inertia is related to the mass of the object. Mass is the matter, exactly how much matter is in the object. Newton's first law of motion describes this very property and is therefore also called law of inertia. So we will see what is Newton's first law and Newton's other laws of motion. All instances of inertia are examples of Newton's first law of motion. So all these examples that we seen above were all examples of Newton's first law of motion.
For the answers to this exercise and other free worksheets, please go to jkacademypro.com. This was the end of the fourth part. For the fifth part, please click on the link in the description box below.